Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh,
Yes.
that's good. Well, I was having problems joining, so that's good to know.
Okay, fine. Graham, are you trying to speak there? I can't hear you. I don't know if you've started. You're having sound issues. I see your chat. Can you hear us, Graham? We can't hear you.
Matt, Graham's got an issue. He can't hear anyone, and he.
I've seen that in the chat. I don't know
Aye.
whether I can. No joy, Graham, no. Okay. Maybe just say good evening on behalf of Graham, but the chair he's having problems at the moment getting his sound and audio access. If everybody's okay, if he maybe just until he comes in, I'll just start the meeting for going forward, if that's okay. Christine, could you give us a note of any apologies for the meeting we've got at the moment?
Yep. Matt, I have an apology from Morag Dendy, but Diane Fraser is attending in her absence, and from Christopher Winter, the MSYP.
Thanks for that. Okay, just moving on to item 3, the minutes of the last meeting. Does anybody have has everybody got a copy of the minutes? Any matters arise or any issues you want to raise from the last minute? Stick a hand up if I can see you. Put it in the chat bar.
Hi, it's Stuart. If you could just put down that I'm from Overton and Waterloo Community Council.
Sure. Well, I could maybe ask if we put some stuff in the chat bar earlier. if anybody, if you wouldn't mind, if you just put your name and any organisation into the chat bar, we'll pick that up from the minute. Going forward, so if you just put it in the chat, we'll make sure that's recorded.
Just for people that are new to the system, the chat bar, if there's a wee chat, it says at the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and it should have a wee speech bubble. And if you just click on that, you'll be able to find the chat bar.
Thank you. Councillor Fotheringham, did you want to come in?
Hi there, evening everyone. I was just going to suggest, I think the two of us are not two co-chairs as well. That I might be throwing them under a bus here, but I don't know if they want to move on. The fact that we can't hear from Graham Butt at the moment. I can see Graham Smith and Dan Scott both here also.
Yeah, thanks for that under the bus. No, I think Graham had already spoke to Matt. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, Graham's asked me just to start the meeting until he comes in. I've got no objection if somebody else wants to take over the chair at this stage. Absolutely no problem with that at all.
I think you're doing a great job, Matt. Carry on.
Happy with that. That's absolutely fine. So is there any other or any matters arising from the minute? Okay. No. Just to move on then to the next part on the agenda is about the chair arrangements. And obviously, we had arranged for Graham to take this over, and Dan, you're on there. Obviously, somebody also has expressed an interest in taking on the chair. What we maybe suggest that it's between yourself and Graham, may arrange for the next 2 or 3 cycles to be sorted out going forward on that basis. We haven't sent you obviously the copy of the chair's agenda, so you can see names against the actual subject matter on the agenda at this stage. But as I say, if you wanted to take that forward this evening, I'm more than happy to do that. But if you're happy with me to carry on, I'm happy to carry on under these circumstances. There's no objections to that.
I'm happy for you to carry on, and it was myself, Graham Smith, that we're both going to be take turns at doing the role of the chair. So that's the plan on that. We both we've both been where Graham is at the moment with a young baby in the house, so we know that can't be easy. So if we can give him a hand, that's what we're planning to do.
Problem at all. But we'll pick that up going forward then for the next meetings. Moving on to the next part of business is in terms of general community board business and update. Item 5 is driving digital locally, and this is going to be introduced by Linda Johnson, who's here from the North Lanarkshire Council. And hopefully there's no issues or some issues this week. Technically, I'm going to share a presentation, Linda, and put this on the screen just now for you to.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So while you're doing that, hopefully we won't have technical issues. I have to apologise in advance. I've got 2 wee dogs in the house, and I've got a bit of movement going on in my garden just now. I've got a skip getting filled by my husband. So if they start barking, I've tried to mitigate it by sending my daughter downstairs with them, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get through this presentation without too much barking. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Linda Johnson. I work in the business solutions side of the Chief Executive's office. And as Matt says, I've been invited along tonight to talk to you about the Council's digital agenda.
Linda, I'm sorry, it's not sharing. Do you have the presentation there that you could try and share?
Oh, now you're challenging me, Matt, because I've not got it opened. But hold on a wee second and I'll see if I can just get it.
We had an issue with this earlier in the week, but it's just not.
Oh, Jennifer said that you had a wee bit of a technical issue, didn't you? Wait to see. Try to remember where it came from. Oh, there you go. I did have it opened all along, Matt. Wait to see if it'll allow me to share. Just let me know when it comes up.
Yeah, that's it.
Is it? Right, okay, good. I'll just take it back to the beginning then. Okay. Right, so now you're going to challenge me, so I have to run the whole lot myself, eh? That'll be a challenge, won't it? Right, there we go. Okay, so is that us up and running? Perfect, thanks, Matt. Okay, so I'll just pick up where I kind of left off. I've been invited along to talk to you about the Council's digital agenda and also to talk about training and access needs for communities and how we can work with you to address these through this new programme of driving digital locally. So as you're aware, the Council and the Community Planning Partnership established the 9 community boards, of which you are one of them. And this is part of our framework for working with communities. Really, as you know, the boards provide a structure for local decision making, investment and accountability. And this board provides us with the best platform to begin our discussion about digital developments and inclusion in the Wishaw area. Tonight I'm going to talk a wee bit about the Council's digital ambitions, how these roll out at a local level. I'm also going to be asking for your help at the end of this presentation, both in terms of promoting the benefits of our digitisation, but also to ask you to get involved amongst your group members, your neighbours and your family, and most of all to work with us to address the barriers to digital inclusion and how we ensure that no one is left out or excluded as part of this programme. So let's take a wee look at our progress so far. So some of you will be familiar with this slide and the fact that we have the plan for North Lanarkshire. And this sets out the strategic vision for the council and the fact that we want to make it North Lanarkshire a place to live, learn, work, invest and visit. And as part of that organisational structure, we have individual programmes of work that we strive to achieve to make that vision a reality. And you'll see from a digital perspective on the left-hand side of your screen, there are a number of programmes of work items that we're specifically responsible for driving forward. But there's also a number on the right-hand side of your screen that, from a digital point of view, enable and enhance the service delivery offerings across what we deliver as an organisation. From the digital programme itself, there are a number of themes that we are driving forward. So in terms of economy, we want to attract inward investment and expansion through improved connectivity and faster broadband access. We want to use digital technology to support people to live independently for longer in their own homes. And you'll maybe be aware of some of the examples of that. And this is really to give peace of mind to family members and members of our community through alert systems and so on, that can make sure that, as I say, there's peace of mind, particularly if an elderly relative has perhaps had a fall or something like that. So there's lots of different pieces of connectivity in homes just now, and we've got a test flat that we use and we use that as a test bed for technology. We also want to make sure that it's easier for you to contact the council online at a time that suits you. We want our workforce to be digitally skilled, and we want to use automation to free up our resources, to avoid duplication and to allow us to prioritise our resources more efficiently. And lastly, as part of the digital programme, we're committed to making smarter use of the data that's available to us to monitor trends and make better informed decisions. So how are we going to do this, and what does it actually mean around driving digital locally? What does it mean for you? Oh, sorry, I'm getting an awful lot of feedback. I'm not sure if that's just in my headset. Can anybody else hear that? No, Matt, it's fine at your end.
I'm getting it too, Linda.
Yeah, I can hear it as well.
All right, okay, well, I'll plough through and not keep you too much longer. Okay, so what does this really mean for you and around meeting your digital needs? So I said that we wanted to build digitally capable and confident communities. We want to make sure that you can take advantage of new job opportunities in the technology sector, and also ensure that children and young people are equipped and able to participate fully in digital learning. But we know that it's not easy. There are many challenges, and the stakeholder engagement that took place around the local outcome improvement plans that you all participated in before Christmas shows that all 9 community board areas identified digital inclusion as a priority. 6 areas identified affordability as a key concern, and the need to ensure people have broad digital skills was raised in 6 areas, with a further 3 areas highlighting the importance of this, particularly for older people. And while it's recognised that such opportunities as Teams meetings, WebEx, Zoom, all of those tools are great for involving wider audiences, there is a risk that people who are not digitally connected may be left out. So where are we now? So this slide really highlights some of the work to date across our community. So within the council and many of the different parts of the council around community learning development through Matt's team, through business solutions, etc. There's a whole raft of activity that's carried out just now. So we know that there's a wide reach for our engagement programme through the community boards, as I said. As we know, last time round, 300 attendees at the meetings, but a further 1,100 live streams or recordings that have been viewed. And those live screens for us are really important, an important reach for us. We know that community board meetings are held remotely, as I've said. And through the Scottish Government's Connecting Scotland programme and education, we're also distributing devices and connectivity solutions. And actually the figures that are on the slide are a bit out of date now. We've been advised by our education colleagues that just short of 4,500 devices have now been issued and over 1,700 connectivity issues have been resolved for our young people and our families and our communities. We're also looking at how we can improve that connectivity through free Wi-Fi and other affordability issues. So really the crux of it all is the ask tonight. We're asking you to get on board and work with us to ensure that our communities are digitally included, confident, capable and connected. We want you to encourage your groups to become involved and also to ask you to support individuals if they're feeling excluded or if they simply don't understand or lack digital confidence. We've got many avenues, as I've said, across the council. We've got digital champions, we've got community learning and development, and hopefully once the COVID restrictions are lifted, we will be back within our library environment and the facilities that are available through our services there. Another way to look at it is to encourage your families and your friends to sign up for My Account, and some of you, particularly from the elected members' point of view, may already be aware of this. And this is for a drive that will allow you to request council services online. And at the moment, the inquiry function is primarily waste related because that's where we started with our first redesign programme, but we've recently added the COVID business grants. Again, because we wanted to make a faster, more efficient service for those most in need within our communities. And we've got more services that will come online later this year. And finally, from tonight's meeting, the ask that I mentioned at the beginning of the slides, we're asking you whether you've got time to join our digital subgroup, to work with us to shape our digital programme, to make sure that it meets the needs and aspirations for your community. Remember, we've got 9. We know that one size doesn't fit all, and we know that we need to tailor our programmes, our training, our access requirements for individual communities, hence the reason that we're attending individually to the community boards. So really, I'm asking, my final slide is, one, to ask you to promote the digital services that the council is developing at the moment, and also to consider taking part in our digital subgroup. And I would ask that if you were interested in getting involved, that you either put your name on the chat bar, discuss it with Matt, or indeed email digitalnl@northland.gov.uk, where we've already had some representation from other community board meetings that we've attended. So that's really where I would like to leave you this evening. So thanks very much for listening to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I should say that if you've not already received a copy of the presentation, then Matt will arrange for that to be sent out after this evening. Okay, so hopefully Matt, has that stopped sharing? No, right, okay. What do we see? Okay, there we go. How's that? Has it stopped yet? Oh.
No, we're still getting the screen, Linda. It's just a black screen.
Right, so I've now got a little circle. There we go.
That's you now.
That's us. There we go. So, we've got some comments. Happy to have it. Is it? Oh, excellent, Graham. That's great. also, Matt, we've got some from Graham in the chat bar, so I'll take a wee note of that. And then through you, we can pick that up with Graham following the meeting.
Graham, I think your audio was back working again. Are you okay to take over now from the chair?
Yeah, if everyone can hear me all right, are we all right here? Yeah, so apologies. I have no idea what happened there. So there's no questions. We'll move on to, I think we're up to the terms of reference now, feedback, or with Christine Boyle.
That's great, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to give a wee update on the terms of reference. Obviously, we've circulated the terms of reference to people on the board previously, and we asked for comments to be fed back. Just wanted to say that the broad base of the terms of reference was agreed at the Council's Policy and Strategy Committee, but we've asked for people's views on the document. The points raised from local people was that in terms of voting rights was one of the questions, and the voting rights themselves reflect the elected representation on the board, but it's preferable that decisions are made through consensus based on clear evidence and community engagement processes. Voting would be very much a last resort if consensus couldn't be reached on the board. The other things that were raised were around about the language and terminology used, and we will make sure that abbreviations will be explained fully, and a glossary of terms will be added to the end of the document to make it clear and easily understood by anybody that would be reading that. I want to say thank you to all the people who have come back to us with their comments. We definitely will take this on board, and I will recirculate the terms of reference with the amendments in place, and I'm happy for you to take that forward from then and let us know if you're happy to adopt that document. But I'll send that out after the meeting. Thanks very much, Chair.
Christine, anyone got anything to that, or any questions regarding that? Then I'd say silence is a no. So we've got a board development sessions with Matt Costello.
Thanks, Chair. Just quite briefly, what we're going to try and do after this round of current board sessions going on is to have a number of community board representative development sessions. You'll hear a number of things discussed at the board meetings about for example, the community asset transfer, participatory budgeting, the legislation that we are responsible for implementing in the council and across the partnership. You hear about a number of other issues, the local development programme, the community investment fund, the plan for North Lanarkshire, a number of different things you'll hear discussed and reported on digital, as you just heard about just now. What we're planning to do is to have a series of development sessions where board members would be invited and welcome to come along to have some briefing sessions on these particular subject matters that we've all discussed, to give you more an idea of what you've been asked to consider at the board going forward. So I've just given you some examples of where we are with some of the issues that might come across your desks. What we'd ask you to do is, if you've got some ideas for things you'd like us to focus on in a board development session, then please let us know. If there's any subject matter that you think that the council could provide more information on, or other partners could provide other information on, like Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire, Police, Fire, NHS Lanarkshire, other organisations, if there's any specific issues that you would think would allow us to have a bit more time to speak about these things at a development session, then let us know about that, please. And we'll contact everybody who's involved in the boards over the next few weeks to make you aware of the development sessions that will be taking place. We will be doing that across the 9 board areas. It won't be a specific board development session for the Wishaw area. We will have a number of board sessions, and we'll invite people from across North Lanarkshire to attend and speak about the particular issues that we've got. So if you're okay with that, then we're happy to move forward on that. But I'm happy to take any questions at this point, if anybody's got any questions just now.
Matt, I think Graham's sound's dropped out again. He's just put on the chat bar there.
I've seen that. Thanks, Ross. If anybody's got, as somebody's saying there, discussion regarding town centre infrastructure and the digital. These are things that we're happy to look at a bit further in the development sessions, and we'll pull that together. We'll get some agendas put out so you can see what's on that. And as I say, once we get, but we'll have 2 or 3 in different times, to attract different areas about different subject matter. So give people as many opportunities to attend there to pick up the ones that they're interested in. Graham, I don't know if you've come back in as chair, or do you want me to stay? I think Graham can hear me, so if you're okay with that, I'll move on to the next.
Matt, it's Victoria here. I'm just a resident, but I've seen that Mark had asked the difference between a board member and board attendees, and this is the first time I've asked to attend, just to kind of try and get involved. Is there a difference between being a board member and a board attendee?
There's a couple, if you see the terms of reference, I don't know if you've seen that, Victoria, but we can send you a copy of that so you can see it.
Yeah.
There is core members of the board, and that is your elected members, and that's representatives from community councils, tenants and residents associations, representative community forum. These are the kind of key organisations in the area who are what we call core board members. What we've done on this occasion is we've widened the attendance. Normally, if we had as we used to have a locality partnership meeting or a local area partnership meeting, those meetings were open to the public, and any member of the public could attend and ask any questions, etc. So what we've done on this occasion, in this cycle of the boards, is we've opened that up to not only the core members of the board, but also any other local resident who wants to attend. And therefore, if you attend here as a local resident, you're perfectly entitled to ask any questions, raise any issues, the same as any other core member. It's just that when you're there as a core member, you're there in a representative position. You're either an elected member and you've been elected to serve on the council, or you're there from an organisation which is sending you on their behalf, for example, a tenants and residents association or a community council, for example. So that's, hopefully that explains the kind of the difference between that. That's okay.
Yep, that was great. Thanks very much.
No problem. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the local development programme, and if you're okay with myself just picking up on that at the moment, this report should have been sent out with the invitation papers originally about a week ago. This is just to give you an idea as to where we are currently with the local development programme as such. There's a few projects still going on, and if you look at Appendix 1 to the report, you'll see there's a couple of projects where a contract has been awarded for work that's ongoing in the Wishaw area. And those 2 projects will continue through. We'll get start dates and we'll get the outcomes from that in relation to that in due course. That will be further reported back to the board. Appendix 2 of the report gives you an idea of a number of projects that have previously been approved in principle by the locality partnership or by a previous community board. And there's some other projects there that have came in from local organisations asking for additional work to be considered by the board for projects in the area. The final one there you can see in relation to community safety CCTV is something that this team has put in, seeking your support, and it's something to allow us a bit of flexibility within the area to consider in conjunction with the police, fire and rescue and other partners, is about the particularly hotspot areas of community safety, antisocial behaviour in areas where perhaps the introduction of CCTV deployable or fixed CCTV can be used in the area, and it's to allow us to consider, if budgets allow, to have an element of the budget to take that forward. So just to make you aware, at this stage there is no budget so far being confirmed for the local development programme for the next financial year, but we will feed back on that to the board once we're fully aware as to what the budgetary position is in regarding that. But I'm happy to take any questions on that at the moment if anyone's got any questions. Councillor Fotheringham.
Hi there, everyone. It was just regarding the potential programme, just to see how much that there was still element for kind of discussion on that, or I know is that up for agreement tonight, or can we still discuss this further? There's a couple of issues that or amendments that I would kind of like to propose if possible, and it's just following feedback from firstly residents, who is the reason why I firstly came forward and suggested some things for the programme, and secondly maybe things that have been missed on the programme. So just to firstly to clarify, there's 2 dog walking areas in Overtown and also in Bellhaven Park that obviously you're looking at lighting for as well, or development of. There's also 2 skate parks in these parks, and I know that I've had issues, and I'll declare an interest because I'm a skater mum as well. So I'm getting it in both ears from constituents and also from constituents and myself, and also the kids that are local, that they can't use it obviously during the winter hours, etc. So they were kind of hoping that the lighting would be included, as well as the dog walking areas, an area where there can be a lit area with the skate parks to give them use all year round. Greenhead Moss also, and Stuart might come in regarding this on the from the Overton Community Council and Waterloo Community Council. Greenhead Moss is on the agenda for the signage. There is also a lot of problems up there regarding the litter bins as well. And the signage is important. I don't know how many times I've lost and get taken the wrong path and fished my dad out of there because he's gone the wrong way. The signage is obviously extremely important, but is there any way that we can address litter bins and find the money for the litter bins in Greenhead Moss also? And I'll maybe wait for your comments there before I propose an alternative. I don't know if you can give me feedback on those first.
Sure. Certainly, in terms of feedback, we're happy to look at that the board suggests. What we need to, what we'll have to compare it to is the kind of the criteria for the programme going forward, as to whether it meets the criteria for that. I'm aware, I know Ross Dunn's on the call, and Ross might be able to give us a bit more information, but in terms of play areas or skate parks and things like that, we don't normally, and Ross might be able to clarify this position for us in terms of lighting, we don't normally light them. They tend to be dawn till dusk facilities that we don't light. And they're used at the time of year for the time of year when it's as natural light to support that. And there is, I don't know whether there's an actual policy in relation to that, but it's just been certainly a custom and practice the way we've done that. But Ross might be able to give a bit more information on that. In terms of the Greenhead Moss, these are projects which we're more than happy to consider. We have recently finalised development of a kind of application for them, very, very brief forum that we're going to, if people have got an interest in submitting new projects, that we'll send out, and we'll ask for that to be completed, that to be sent into us. And ultimately what will happen is the board we'll come back with, the idea behind this is that we don't want to have a lot of projects on the list that might not be feasible for one reason or another. For example, if somebody was today to suggest that we open a play area that's only 100 yards away from an existing play area, we would almost immediately rule that kind of thing out, because albeit the people in an area might want that thing to happen and might put it forward as a project, if it doesn't meet with the kind of approach we're looking at it in the area, then we wouldn't consider that. But ultimately, we will take on board the projects that the local community are interested in. We'll look at ones that can be worked up and brought forward. And then from there, we'll look to see what the budget is for that ultimately. And we'll let the board know exactly what the budget's going to be for this area. Just to let people know in terms of the budget, if the budget does come into for the council for the local development programme, it's split in 2 ways. It's split, one aspect of it is split in terms of population for an area, and the other, there's a portion of the budget is top sliced to take account of SIMD, which is the deprivation figures for an area. So that determines how much of £100, for example, how much would come to an area, the percentage of that. But we'll give that full information. If that information becomes available to us before the next board meeting, we'll make sure that's shared with you, and you'll see some figures against those projects in the list that's there. These are indicative figures. These are only notional ideas of figures. Sometimes these can be double the figure that's there, and on occasions it can be less than is in the particular project itself. So yeah, we're happy to look at the projects that people are proposing. If people have got other projects, by all means, put them on the minute for noting at this stage, and we'll do some more work on them off table.
Can I just come back in there with the other question? And I noticed that Graham's put in the chat exactly what I suggested previously about the solar power. So if it's something we can go forward with like that, I know that the pump track, if you go down there to Craignuke, there's easily 40 kids down there on a night on the pump track, and I know that they're using the skate park, whether it's safe or not. There's also safety aspects of the one in Wishaw, as I think yourself and maybe Ross are already aware of, that health and safety, that the skate park's not in the best of nick. So but certainly the lighting would be a major advantage and give the children something to do, because they're certainly in there anyway at night, and it's maybe older children, it's giving them something to do rather than obviously the play parks. The other thing that I was going to suggest, and it was just simply, and again I declare another interest as a resident or a local resident, the Kenilworth Avenue green gym that was proposed. Just for the background, it came up actually in a discussion. I don't know if John Keller again was at that meeting that night, and we were at the meeting of the local community forum, and we were talking about health and just the fact that Kenilworth Avenue is regularly used as a walking track, an active health track. And we spoke about the signage there. It'd be great to even just be able to tell people, right, you've walked 400 metres. From there, it's now developed into, you know, a lot of money and a green gym. Now, I don't know, obviously that has to be consulted with residents, because it's also a historical area when it comes to the trees, etc. So I think it kind of developed from just basic signage, also a bit of history about the Boer War and why the trees are there, etc. And then obviously developed then into a full green gym. Now, obviously that needs to be consulted. Is it in keeping with the area? I'm not sure, but that might be something for discussion, but it also might be a compromise to get the funding elsewhere where it's needed, to take money out of that, get some basic signage up, and get the floodlights into the other parks where they're more needed. Just a thought, and it's just a proposal.
Absolutely, we'll take note of that, and like I say, we'll have further discussions with yourself and other interested groups in relation to the projects that are being proposed. We're happy to do that. And maybe one of the things we'll touch on a bit later on is a kind of subgroup of this, and maybe an opportunity for the board going forward to have a wee subgroup that looks at local investment in an area and then feeds back into the main board going forward. That's certainly something we can hopefully pick up on. There was one point just before I take it to the open up, a couple of people on the chat bar. Mark Johnson's raised a point about the board's constituted in such a way it can apply for outside funding and grants. Well, just in response to that is we really want to work very closely with local community groups. There's been a lot of evidence in the past where the locality partnerships, community boards, etc. have worked very closely with local community groups who have applied for external funding very successfully. And we've linked into that for the development of play areas, for example, for other heritage projects that have been carried out, and the local development programme has been used quite successfully to act as a third-party funder or as a co-funder for certain projects and other grant applications. So there's certainly things that we can look at on that. And before I move on, I know there's a couple of hands up here, just to finish off in the chat bar here. Ross, would you want to come in as a comment on the lighting position, just input from there?
Yeah, quite happy to, Matt. Certainly the council position's always been that any children's recreation facilities are available for play dawn to dusk. There's a few reasons around that. One is that lighting facilities can encourage potentially unwanted behaviour or antisocial behaviour at hours that can disrupt residents, i.e. sort of night time in the middle of winter. There's obviously an inherent cost attached to installing lighting. Just to give you an idea, we're looking at a few £1,000s per lighting column to go in, even if you then get a budget established for that. So if we take Overton Skate Park for potential 4 lighting columns there would be about £8,000, quite a chunk maybe of a board's budget. We also then need to get somebody to agree to revenue costs because we don't have money to fund the revenue on that. So that's always been a challenge for lighting projects, and projects are always developed on the basis that they are available for play dawn to dusk. If it's something as a board, people decided that actually maybe that was a big priority to look at lighting for these sort of facilities, I suppose if the board agree that that's going to be a priority direction for them, it's certainly something that we can look into and get, you know, sort of firmer costs on what that would be. But any of these sites as well, there need to be extensive community engagement, because as much as there may be a small group that would then enjoy having their usage hours extended, there may also be people who actually like the fact that it naturally finishes off when it gets dark usually. So again, it's maybe a wider discussion. I think, as Matt mentioned, maybe potentially have a subgroup to look at some of these things. So our general position is as I've outlined, but that's not to say that it's a no, never. Certainly something to consider. Just on that, when you're talking about skate parks, you may potentially then open it up to things like muggers and things that people will say, well, can we have that lit as well? And you might end up with quite a few facilities and have to choose maybe where the priorities or where the greatest demand is. So it's just something as a board to be aware of, that these might be some of the challenges. I'll just finish up with that, but just to check, I've noted down, so we mentioned there sort of the pump track for lighting, Overton skate park for lighting, and also the potential for a green gym at Kenilworth Avenue. Is that correct? Did I miss any other sort of player recreation projects there during the chat?
I think it was more a debate over whether there should be a green gym in Kenilworth Avenue.
I think, again, something we're happy to talk about. Probably also determining what somebody means by a green gym. Different people might have different views of what that is. As an authority, we have installed quite a few outdoor exercise areas or outdoor gyms, but we install equipment that's to a relevant safety standard, can be maintained, and has a certain life attached to it. Again, away from this meeting, I'm more than happy to have that chat with people.
Thanks,
Mark, before you go any further, these appendices that you spoke about, I'm having trouble finding them. When were they sent, Mark? Because I don't think I've
been sent out
appendices.
Last week along with the invite, Councillor Shevlin.
Yeah, I've got 4 attachments, but they won't open. So is that part of them?
A document there yet.
Can't open them.
Sorry about that. Dan, Scott, you were asking to come in. Dan.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, on just a couple of comments there. I know that the lights situation at Overton is being spoke about, and obviously down at the Wishaw Wood pump track, we spoke to our pump tracks across Scotland, and you get all sorts of different ways that it works. That, you know, timers that they go off at like 9:30 at night, and all sorts of stuff, and different ways of funding how they're actually on. You even get some light systems that you actually pay a card and a top-up card, and you light them on and stuff like that. So there's lots of different ways to actually, you know, manage lights. What I was actually more thinking of was actually how you know, Social Track obviously does quite a lot of work at night at the pump track because it is lit. We've been talking to the NHS, and we've been working a lot with the CLD youth team in Motherwell, and the plan is to roll out that programme, that partnership programme with them throughout Wishaw as well, with the Wishaw team. We're about to speak about that next week with them, but it's all looking quite positive, and the NHS are involved as well. So yeah, we totally get that lights aren't always the best thing, but I think if we actually had different alternatives and different options, we could still have that community, you know, all the good stuff that comes from having those young people and adults involved in an active sport and doing that at night. I think that would be, I'm really pro it happening. Obviously, I've got a vested interest in that, but I think that's it would make a big difference for the community, and we're quite keen to be in Overton and doing that stuff. So it would be lights would be great to be able to do that, you know, as much as possible. Another thing that I don't know if it's just the time to say this just now, just as we're talking about LVP and budgets, Social Track, along with other partners, including other potential partners, including Coltness Community Board, Council, and Cycling UK and Scottish Cycling, we've put in for an expression of interest for just next to Belhaven Park. We've looked at how we put an expression of interest to see how we could develop the Templars Wood into a mountain biking and the very popular cycling activity of gravel riding, and actually developing that. We've had numerous schools and community groups involved in that, so that I don't know if that's Scottish Cycling seem pretty keen to develop that. So I don't know if that's something that they should be talking regarding LVP budget for. And they've obviously that's just an expression of interest at the moment, so it's early days. But it was yeah, it's good that they want to push that ball. They want to get the ball moving. So it was to see if do you think LVP is the best way to go through that? And to be honest, there's lots of different stuff regarding it, and we've even budgeted it ourselves. So if LVP came in, it wouldn't be a huge amount. I don't think signage and routes would probably where it comes in. It's quite a big project. But thoughts on that, Matt?
Okay. I think again, Dan, it's probably something we'd be happy to discuss with you. I think we'll take a note of that as a potential project, and what we'll do is we'll send you out the forum in terms of get a bit more information on that, and happy to discuss it further to see what was the best approach to that. Absolutely.
Fantastic. I've just saw your comment in the chat bar there, Kirsty, about lights. Yeah, that would be great. It's try to do as much as we can just to get young people doing positive stuff and give them.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing as well, because the thing is they are congregating there, and so that's the issue. So it's about making it safe as possible. If they're already, finding places to hang about, let's like a skate park. That's probably an ideal place for them to be, as opposed to maybe near houses or near somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a bit of homework before we, obviously, well before the pump track was built, like 3 years before it. We went over to Skelf pump track in Edinburgh, which is just it's just next to Holyrood, and it was in a particularly bad area. It took 7 years for them to actually get it all approved to build a track, but the whole idea was to it took them 5 years to get somebody to clean the area. That's how bad it was. It's the sort of place we're talking about. We're talking 3 feet into the ground, they were still finding needles and broken bottles. So it was a bad part of town. But they've never successfully had lights. And actually, the police in Edinburgh said, we'd love lights, because this is an area where young people come. And let's be honest with everybody here. There was a time. I think there was a time that we've all had a drink in a park, or down the woods or something like that. There's plenty of people who deny that happened, but I think most people have. And what basically the police were saying in Edinburgh is that if we've got lights there, they'll congregate there. And that maybe will be great for antisocial things, but obviously me and you, Kirsty, we're talking about, well, let's actually get them doing positive things, and then we'll turn the lights off and then they can go home, sort of thing. But what the police in Edinburgh were saying, what they were really thankful for was that the police knew where the young people were.
Okay.
Well, that's the other thing as well.
Top for Scotland. Sorry.
Can I just maybe move it, if you don't mind? There's a few other people. Graham, I'll hand it back to yourself. I've got a wee note of there's Councillor Rorty, Councillor Burgess and Victoria Scott looking to come in. Graham, if you want to take it from there.
Will I just start then?
Yes, please, Councillor Rorty.
Well, what it was, obviously in the run up to Christmas, that's when the communities discovered that they weren't going to be getting their Christmas trees and festive lightings. And I must say that within the Murdiston ward, the community groups that were available pulled together and worked hard within the community to raise the funds for the Christmas trees, although there was no street lighting, festive lights. So I would just like to propose that is something that's reinstated to the 4 villages within Murdiston, because Campus Nathan lost out as they hadn't a community group to take it forward. So it's just to see if we could get some sort of approval here tonight to reinstate through the community board the festive lights for Murdiston. Thanks.
It's certainly a project we couldn't approve it here tonight, Councillor Rorty, as someone's going forward. We could certainly a project we could consider in discussion to see if we could support a community group to develop a process to do that. But that's something that was decided for the whole of the kind of North Lanarkshire area. There might be further changes to that going forward. I'm not sure of how that will pan out. But in terms of locally, we're certainly happy to discuss with local groups to see if there's any way we can help support them taking those processes forward. We can certainly
Thanks,
do that
thanks
this
for
evening.
that, Matt. You know what it's like. God loves a trier.
Thanks. We'll move on. Bob, you wanted to come in? Yep, Councillor Bob Burgess it is.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Stephen. Yeah, can I speak to Stephen? See, on the light situation, what are the complexities, including CCTV, when, you know, if you're doing an area, what are the complexities of doing the CCTV and the lights when you put them up?
In what regard do you mean, Councillor Burgess? I think Ross is probably best to answer that, to be honest. He would be linking for that, but anything specific?
I actually had him down to do that, but I thought the way you were expertly talking about lights, I thought he's the man. But yeah, I'll pick up with Ross on that. It's okay.
Happy to come in, Councillor Burgess. Inspector Murray's right. We would link in with the police regarding the issues and make sure there's actually intelligence to support the installation of CCTV. If there's existing street lighting, CCTV ties into that, as long as we've got line of sight to one of our, what they call node towers. So basically the transmitter towers back to the CCTV base. To put it into context, a CCTV camera, to put up a pole, run the power to it and buy the camera, you're probably in the region of £8,000 to £10,000. So it's not a cheap option, which is why we put them in where obviously our partners in the police support the installation of them, and it will help with the prevention and detection of crime and related community safety issues.
Thanks for that there. And just finally, Victoria Scott, you'd like to come out with play and recreation there as well?
Yeah, hi guys. So basically the main reason that I was wanting to just kind of come along and try and meet everybody today is that I'm currently trying to like touch base with everybody in Wishaw. I currently live in Wishaw, grew up in Cambridge-Methven. I've met a few of you in the past and tried to catch up with some of you that have got a background in outdoor play with children and young people from babies all the way up to 25. So personally, would totally support the ideas about lighting and using lighting and getting children out. I know I'm an outdoor play worker and nursery teacher, and we have to look at adapting light when we're out. We sometimes go out when it's after 4 o'clock and we have to work all year round as well. So I know, you know, the children's right to play, I think it is something that would be really worth looking at. But it was just to basically say I support all that kind of information, but also to try and use this as a way to kind of say hello to people that are interested in outdoors and in relation over in parks, the moss, Coatness Woodlands, that I would really like to touch base with everybody and try and connect with you, because I'm currently trying to look up trying to do some activities for children locally, because outdoors seems to be the COVID an ideal place for children to be right now, and for it to be safe for them to play, whether it is younger children or teenagers. So it's just to kind of say hi and that I support that stuff you guys are all talking about as well. So.
Brilliant. Sounds fantastic and right up my street, to be fair. Matt, is that something that we can fully get behind with the Wish Community Board and potential work for the future?
Absolutely, Chair. I'm more than happy to have further discussions with Victoria regarding that and hopefully be able to take something forward positively.
Hi
Right,
Matt,
thank you.
sorry to say, but I did try to I've been in contact with Eileen from the Moss in relation to the Moss community group and things, and I know you just mentioned you as well that Cambridge-Methven doesn't have a board, and obviously being from Cambridge-Methven and grew up in Cambridge-Methven, is that something I would be really interested to try and find out how to go about doing that, knowing a lot of people from the local area, and obviously there is some stuff going on at the moment with the Moss and Greenhead Moss and citizens and whatever, but I'd definitely be interested in trying to find out what's involved in getting a board for Camden's Nesting, if that helps give residents some kind of voice.
Ultimately, we told that this will be the board for Cambusnethan, and it's something that we would invite people from any of the areas in Wishaw to come along and raise any and we hope people from any part of the board area would be more than welcome to come along here and raise those particular issues. But we're more than to say that there is opportunities for people to come here, whether it's to be through your representative organisations like community councils, community forums, etc. But certainly as individuals to come along as well. If you want to have further discussions about that off table, we're more than happy to facilitate that with you.
Thank you.
Right, thanks. So just quickly move on. On the agenda, we'll go up to the local outcome improvement plans for the LOIPs update with Maureen Simpson.
Hi Chair, it's Ross again. You'll be delighted to know I'm actually going to be presenting it tonight in place of Maureen, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, so I'll just share that. Hopefully you'll all have my screen up there. So this is, again, for those that haven't been at the board before, we're currently in the process of developing a local outcome improvement plan for the Wishaw area that will cover the whole Wishaw board locality. Just to give you a little bit of context, as Linda mentioned earlier, there's a strategic plan called the Plan for North Lanarkshire. That's been adopted by the North Lanarkshire Community Planning Partnership as the authority-wide local outcome improvement plan. And what we're working on is a localised version of that. Right, that's not. Sorry about there, that's not moving on for some reason. So just a quick recap. So the plans are not a council document as such. They're going to be a co-production document and they're going to be owned by the community boards. So the council will feed in, our community planning partners will feed in, which are NHS, the voluntary sector, police, fire, and also community representatives. The plans need to reflect what the need is in Wishaw. We need to make sure we're maximising the use of the resources across all the partners. And we need to improve outcomes for those that are experiencing the highest levels of inequality. This approach agreed by the North Lanarkshire Strategic Leadership Group, and the 3 initial phases were carried out sort of between October and January. These phases carried out a lot of engagement, a lot of consultation, and we also held community listening events, which some of you would be involved with. That then gave us the starting point for moving forward with the subgroup. We're now, which is development. We've set up a short life working group with members of this board, and at the initial meeting what we've done is look at the sort of the available feedback, the data we've got, the intelligence. We've had a chat about that, about what those priorities are, what kind of themes are coming out in Wishaw, and when we looked at those priorities, what can we actually do to change them? What actions could we start noting down and recording for us to take forward as a subgroup, but also as a community board? So we'll carry information on these action planning recording templates. Now, while these do look quite corporate, it will give us a base point to measure what we want to do, and it will allow us to record information throughout the life of the LOIP. The LOIP itself will run for a 6-year period up to 2027. So it's important that we're actually monitoring it and assessing the impact that it's making. Community speaking to all different things, there was clear priorities started emerging. So you can see them on the screen there, sort of mental health, environment, digital inclusion's on there again that Linda referred to earlier. And we've had a discussion around those priorities and what they've been in the Wishaw area. What we will be moving on to at the next meeting, and it's also very important to note, we also need to focus on our communities that are most in need, the most deprived communities we have that probably need the most intervention for us to help improve their outcomes. So that is something that we'll be doing over the next sort of few weeks to a month, starting to identify what areas in Wishaw is it that we need to, as a board, prioritise for some of these actions. Now, just to select the actions that come out, there was actually about 6 or 7 pages of priorities and actions that we created. We'll be sharing this presentation and all of the actions with you after tonight. We'd welcome people to have a read through, see if they think there's anything where they could feed in or support, or indeed help us refine what the actions are. Tell us if we've maybe not got it quite right yet. What do we need to change just to fit it in with the priorities? Final steps. So the Short Life group, we're going to be setting up another meeting for that. That meeting will probably happen, you'll find out about this next, after the Town Hub engagement event, so that we can capture information from that, capture anything from the community board tonight, and actually use that to help inform our decisions. We're going to look to draft the plans and outline the priorities by April this year. There'll then be a standalone community board session organised that will just look at the draft plan, discuss through it, and agree if that is what, as a board, we want to then go out to the public with. And we'll ask people to then feed into that with any further comment. We're looking for the LOIP to be published by about June or July this year. And then ongoing in the community board, those priorities that we had talked about earlier will be an item for discussion at each community board, just on progress, updates that may have happened. Those priorities will be led by different people. It could be someone from the council, from the community, it could be from the NHS or the voluntary sector. And each year, the LOIP will do an annual report just to look at what progress has been made, what achievements have been carried out, and also do we need to refine it for the subsequent years coming. So as I promised you, nice and brief, I'm going to try and unshare my screen just now and I'll hand you back to the chair, but we're happy to take any questions.
Right, thanks for that, Ross. Is there any questions at all?
Hi there, I would like to say something. It's Aileen Leggett from Wishaw Credit Union.
Hi, yeah.
Oh, hi there. It's more an observation rather than a question, and maybe something we can discuss, maybe not through this forum, but certainly through other factors. Wishaw Credit Union, we've taken a decision to invest massively in Wishaw, and we've just bought the old Clydesdale Bank, so we want to increase our footprint in the town. Driven out of our membership has went through the roof. A real interest in responsible saving and lending, helping people support their financial understanding and readiness, which primarily is not our role, but as a financial cooperative, we can do a lot to help encourage people really understand how they can take self-control. And I was interested around the sort of volunteering and the SQA part of that action plan, where certainly we'd be happy to offer our facilities, what the credit union does to help support training and development for volunteers undertaking that. So certainly something that our board are really keen to become a part, to become more involved in the community, and certainly use the credit union as a means to help support the community as well. I don't know how best we fit into all of that, but certainly something we'd be happy to take forward.
I think certainly the LOIP subgroup that's working, it's open to anyone else to come along and join in on a one-off basis or on a regular basis. So if you want to pop something in the chat bar, if you're interested in being involved in the next sessions of the subgroup as we move to refine the actions tied to the priorities, if you pop that in there, we'll make sure you're included in the next meeting.
I mean, it would be either with myself or someone else from the board, but certainly as a credit union with over 7,000 members, we'd be certainly keen to try and be part of that community engagement process. That would be great.
I think that would be ideal. As you may have seen, one of the priorities we had was about tackling poverty, and we are looking for sort of community partners to help us identify some of the best ways to do that and actually deliver on some of the aspirations.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll take that up and pass you on my details, and we can take it through other routes. That's great. Thank you.
Has anyone got any more questions? Wait, as a note. So move on
sorry, Chair.
to the board reference.
Chair, Graham was put his hand up there.
Oh, sorry.
Graham Smith.
Missed that
Graham
one.
Smith.
Yeah, Graham, if you just jump in.
And Mark Johnson. I think there's also a question in the chat bar from Stuart.
Yeah, and Maureen just replied to me saying that I'm welcome to get involved as well. So I think it was just because I think in the last meeting there was some talk about the zero target, and yeah, it just seems to be a bit of a miss at the moment on net zero and the green recovery, particularly if it's over the next 7 years.
That's fine, Stuart. There is an environment section under the LOIP, and obviously we are looking at quite local actions. But happy to have that chat. And again, if there's specifics that you want to feed in, even if it's just to one of the priority areas, more than happy to have a chat with you and get you on board for that.
Thank you.
Right, just go to your hand there.
So it was just to ask, interesting in respect to what Stuart was saying there, is there, I know, Matt, there's a bit of work being done in the social enterprise framework across North Lanarkshire. Is there any likelihood of having discussion around circular economy or a zero waste agenda within North Lanarkshire? Is that something that's been spoken about currently? And I suppose just pertaining to that, the question that I'd asked in the chat was in relation to both the digital piece that was mentioned tonight and also the presentation that Ross has just kindly given us, whether that both the slides for that and the data that sits behind that, whether that can be accessed publicly.
I think I'll just answer just on my presentation there, Mark. Certainly the slides that I've presented tonight, along with our draft priority and action list, will circulate to all attendees tonight. We would welcome comment, input and feedback on them. The data that sits behind it is extensive and has been shared with the subgroup that's involved with the development of it, which does include members of the community. It is general consultation and engagement work, so it's not something that we publish and usually into the public domain. To give you an example, the feedback from just speaking to seldom heard voices ran to 71 pages of data. So there was a lot of work behind it, but that has been shared with all of the subgroup members from the community board that are feeding in with the LOIP, and anyone else that's wanting to be involved, will make sure that you get all the relevant information for it.
When is the next meeting of the subgroup, Ross?
We're due to confirm it, I think, probably next week, but we were waiting until after the Wishaw Town Hub meeting, which we're just moving on to next. I think we'll wait till after that in case there's any pertinent information people feel should be captured, and also so that the board had a chance tonight to input any comments and we could capture what the latest discussions and potential actions are to tie to that. So it'll be, I would think, Maureen might be able to nod for me, probably the last fortnight in March. And we'll look to set up a date probably within the next week for that, Mark. So again, if you pop it in the chat bar, if you're interested in coming along and feeding into that process, we'd be delighted to have you.
Yeah, good man. And just finally, you mentioned when you were speaking there almost, I don't know if it was in reference to like the data and the groups that exist within that. It was something about, I don't know if it was in relation to hard to reach groups or something.
Yes, well, the term hard to reach groups, seldom heard voices, what are terms? So people that maybe don't engage with us on a regular basis or perhaps feel excluded from the engagement process. So there was actually specific work carried out around that to try and engage groups who maybe don't often influence local plans, local priorities. So we've been speaking, as I say, over a period of months to people across North Lanarkshire to try and capture those views so that everyone's having an equal voice in this process.
Good man, thanks very much.
Right, that I've just got, I can see Aileen's got her hand up. Do you want to come in with something just now? And right, Dan,
Yeah, Stuart, I just wanted to add that I think that yeah, that's something that us at Social Track we've been working on active travel, and we're working with the NHS just now and trying to get more active travel. And obviously, the idea of all that is to try and reduce the carbon footprint and create a modal shift from cars to walking and cycling and e-scooters and all sorts of stuff. But we're looking into a lot of that. So it's and I think once we've got something a bit more solid with ourselves in the NHS, we'll be looking to see how that can influence the LOIP, and where we can go and when so our goals can be part of that and can be shared. And obviously we have a lot of engagement with quite a lot of different people, so we'd like to who active travel. So we'd like to we'll have that there. So there's people working on it. So just thought I'd let you know. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. Have anyone else got anything else coming in for Ross there? I'm just having a wee look through, but I don't see anyone else with any hands up.
Chair, there's Graham Smith again. He's maybe not on your screen.
Yeah, he's not there. Graham, do you want to come in?
I think Graham's maybe having problems with his audio. Graham, you're not coming through yet, but I think it was picking up, if I'm right, on the comments about ash paths that somebody put in the chat bar earlier, and maybe wasn't.
Through you, Chair, is Matt able to unmute Graham to assist him?
I can only send a request for him to unmute, and it's not.
Is that not helping?
And I've done that.
Okay.
I'll come back through him. Right, so just move on.
Sorry, I think the comment Graham was making is that Graham Smith was looking about the ash road down to the Priory, and that it's been damaged with a lot of the weather and usage. And I think he was asking about, is that something that can be, is there something that can be done? I'm not sure who that question is to, but that's what I picked up from the chat.
Yeah, I picked it up myself.
For Graham, that I definitely the ash the roads down to the Priory for many years have been a disaster. I think they've been exacerbated during the recent weather. So probably, I know that Graham's asking if there can be any repairs done there. I don't know if it's tying in when he's saying about the ash parks. I'm not sure if he's tying into what Dan was saying about the ash parks with the cycling or the ash paths. So is that right? There you go. I'm reading your mind, Graham. Yeah, there is definitely some investment needed in the roads down to the Priory, without a doubt.
I think the roads, ash roads, I think that he's raising question to it are pretty much all over. The example I can think in my head is that I know it's down Motherwell down in Barons Hall, where we have lost a full section of pathway to erosion from the Clyde. So you get the same along the Clyde walkway, which I think I've always thought it needs a bit more investment anyway, because it's a 40-mile track from Partick to Lanark, and it brings people right through the heart of North Lanarkshire along that Clyde. So I think there's a lot. Like we can come on to that later on. Yeah, we can come into that later on. So we're going to the board referencing the subgroups with Christine Boyle.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to kind of say a wee bit about the subgroups, and it definitely is linked to what Ross was saying there in terms of the LOIPs and the priorities for the areas. It's obviously really important that we don't want to duplicate things. If there's already things or structures in place, we don't want to duplicate that in terms of kind of subgroups. But obviously we want to look at kind of subgroups that directly link to the priorities that we've mentioned are coming through and are emerging through the kind of LOIP processes. In terms of suggestions that have been put forward, community safety subgroup has been put forward, and obviously that's kind of shown up in what Ross had reported back as well. Access to food and ending poverty was also a subgroup that's been suggested. And the third one that was there was the pump track plus and New Mains was something that was suggested in terms of a subgroup as well. So that's all I wanted to feed back, but I think we're really keen that if people want to kind of take some of these forward, I know there'll be certain people that might be more interested in some than others. Do you know, if you've got a kind of poverty, kind of interest in ending poverty and your background's in that, then we would be looking for people to put themselves forward as somebody might be interested in kind of get involved, and obviously even in leading some of these groups if they were interested in doing that. But certainly as the LOIT progresses and we've got clear priorities, then we would be looking for the subgroups to link in with those. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you for that. So the next on the agenda here is for the consultation plans around the town is with Matt Costello.
Thanks, Chair. Just very briefly, just some of you will have already received notification of the meetings that are taking place in relation to the Town Community Hub consultation. It's an online event that's taking place, and it's for the Wishaw area. It's Wednesday, 17th of March, 6:30. The links have been sent out. It's an Eventbrite booking that you may be interested in participating in that. If you're still interested, if you haven't received the notification for that, please let us know and we'll ensure that you get the information. The links have just been put on the chat bar by Christine there, so it gives you the information you may want to attend. So we encourage as many people as possible to attend and put your views in relation to the proposals. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks for that. So yeah, those details. And petitions, according to the paperwork I've got, there's none presented for the meeting. Just want to confirm that that's still a 0. Nothing on there. So put from
Hear you now, yeah.
Aye. Yeah. Right, so the consultation, so no petitions, and we're moving on to the input from local community groups.
Just an opportunity here, Chair, for any groups or individuals who want to raise any particular issues at this point. It's just that it's open to the
So
floor
this
at
is
this stage.
I think this is where I was recommend with let them come in with the ash pass for down. And so there's partnership requests with the farmers and stuff who are down there, in order, because it's a big part of North Lanarkshire and walking. So seeing here, Graham, in the chat bar here is saying that he can't speak. So yeah, the road down a prize had some issues over the years. It does need a bit of major investment for the route down, coming from the Castle Hill at Gugthrapple. I think there's a few other routes down there as well that swing along to the Garrion Bridge section, and even up towards where Dan is talking about at the Templar Wood.
I suppose it's maybe worth just jumping in just now so everyone's aware. For anything like that, walking routes are in that require upgrading, or as a board we're looking to investigate, one of the first feasibility things that has to be checked is that it sits on council grounds. If the council don't own the land, they cannot go in and upgrade the paths or carry out works along that. We know that because there was an issue that came up last year with a project, and the project fell away for that very reason. So if people have got areas that they think may be suitable for upgrading to increase walking and things, then we could certainly have a look at it. But it's certainly need to look at it on an item by item basis.
Have
I
we
think
lost
Graham's got an
Graham?
issue. Yeah, it looks as if he's got an issue.
Appears to have seen he's crashed.
I've just
I'm going to just
a message
before
saying
he goes back in.
jump on for me.
Aye.
I think that was your job, Matt.
Aye. We know they're saying it's crashed. I know you've put a hand up, Dan, and Mark's got a hand up. So you want to come in?
Yeah, I think just there was a couple of things I was going to mention. Also thinking I did have a thought about the subgroups as well. But I'm wondering if the subgroup that's missing is a green space group. Green space and outdoor area group, so that we can look at things like, the red ash paths, and even like winter when there was a whole debacle over where we could get grit and all that sort of stuff, and lots of things that we could look at that, and maybe a subgroup that could see where they could have influence in that, and so going a wee bit back to the subgroups, and tying in that ash path thing as well. I was actually going to come in and actually mention some of the things that we're doing at the moment, and some of the things that we're working on. I'd said to Graham about this earlier. The thought that some of the things that Social Track are working with just now, obviously we have delivery partners that we're working with the NHS Lanarkshire. We work with plenty of schools. Thornley Primary and Taylor are absolutely exemplar in some of the stuff that they do. Great to work with, and also we've been talking with Graham and John Carr at the Colton Esk Community Council. So some of the things that we're working on. I mentioned earlier the Templars Wood development that we'd like to look at. A lot of this is due to, we want to bring some people to the town. We want to increase the facilities that we've got. Obviously, anybody that knows, we spoke a lot about how outdoors, and Wishaw is full of stuff. Wishaw is that you get the great benefit of being in the edge of the urban sprawl. We're 20 minutes away from the city centre of Glasgow, and we're 5 minutes away from absolutely nothing. So it's a perfect place for outdoors. So we're looking at that at the Templars Wood, and we've been talking about that. It's already used quite a bit. So there's definitely a demand there already. One of the things that we're doing as well, and this is, like I said earlier, that we're working with the Motherwell CLD youth team. We will be we've actually spoke to CLD, and we will be doing Monday night clubs at the pump track from the 15th of March. And obviously with COVID and everything like that, it needs a fair amount of clarification and some approval before we could go ahead with that. So that thankfully is happening. So we're looking forward to that. And that's something that we hope to, is that the success of that, we will be able to spread across Wishaw. I know that that's a different locality than in Craigneuk, but to the people in Wishaw and the people in Craigneuk, it's the same thing. So we're looking to see how we can spread that throughout there. The pump track subgroup, I'll just mention that, was mentioned as well, with Pump Track Plus. More than happy to help out in that. Also happy to lead that subgroup as well. And it'd be great to speak with Jane Wood. It'd be great to speak to you about that and where we can
Absolutely
talk about to the NHS and the youth team, and we'll bring Kirsten in that as well. And we'll see what we can do and get some stuff going. And I think we've now got some quite established programs that work really well. And a lot of the pilots that we've tried, I think everybody that's done pilots knows that there's plenty of things that didn't work. So I think we've got to a point now where we've got something, and we tried to. Myself and Mike Batley were responsible for putting a lot of the Pump Track Plus program together. And so we've tried to put all the best bits of what we've learned over the last 5 years into Pump Track Plus. It may not seem like a big deal because obviously pump tracks are my world, but Pump Track Plus is groundbreaking in its approach because nowhere else has had the contact with local authorities, and no other council in Britain has put in the effort that Pump Track Plus is proposing, and that marrying up of community work, working with young people, engaging with young people, and then actually presenting something as a programme that will have a increased positive destinations and all that sort of stuff, all the good stuff that comes with that, and health, mental health, all that stuff. So yeah, we're looking at that. That was what I was just bringing to the board tonight. Is there any questions on that? I'm happy to take questions. That's the
Can I just come in with I've got a quick question for you, Dan. It's probably just a technical thing. I'm not sure setting up board subgroups for single capital build projects is maybe the best way to take things forward. Pump Track Plus is covering the whole authority. We wouldn't have a subgroup for that programme because it doesn't sit under one community board. So for Wishaw, there might be a pump track built, and there will absolutely be local engagement and local work around that. But I think there'll be project officers leading that from the council, and they'll link in. So New Mains, for example, absolutely, they'll be linking in with NCT and looking to get relevant voices around the table to look at that. But I don't know if a board subgroup's the best way to take forward sort of council capital projects like that. But
I take that on board. It wasn't me that proposed it. It was mentioned in the subgroup comments. So I'm just, if that's what people are wanting, I'm happy to work with that. That's that. And I think you're right. I think it's something that should possibly separate from the boards and not in subgroups. I think that's something that because there's commonality throughout the local authority. So yeah, I agree with that, and there is a big element of capital expenditure on it, and obviously there's another side of it as well. I guess soft, quote unquote, actually face-to-face stuff. But there's a big element to both, so I can understand that. So any other questions? Anybody get any other questions for me? Is that all right, Chair? I don't even know if he's here.
Yeah, I'm back here now.
Does anybody get any other questions on what we are?
Could I just ask a few, Dan, if that's okay? And I know I'm new, so sorry if I'm bugging everybody tonight. I think we've met once when I came to one of some cycling down actually the Friday, which is funny because that's what we're talking about. Is there a certain age range that you work with, Dan?
No, really. We Social Track itself. Do you mean pump tracks? Victoria, do you mean it at the pump track?
And for the pump track plus, is it mainly for teenagers or is it for all age groups of children? I'm just wondering.
Right. Well, the Wishaw Hill Wood pump track, we kind of work with ages above 8, really 7, 8. There's exceptions to that, but generally that's what it is. It's not built for toddlers. It's not good for kids learning how to ride. It's not what it's about. That's not to say that when a track is designed for New Mains that it might not have an option for that. But the pump tracks are. If you check out Bella Solutions, who probably Ross is going to shoot me for mentioning them, but they build pump tracks and they do loads of different ones. And you can see what they can be used for and stuff like that. I'll post a video of some of the stuff that we've done. Is there
a site proposed already for New Mains? Like, is there an actual area that's been defined that you're looking at?
Jane, is it still next to the NCT centre that the plan is to put the pump track?
I don't know, to be honest. I haven't. With lockdown, nothing really sort of progressed. I know that there's currently a sort of consultation running for New Mains just now for kind of outdoor learning facilities or outdoor play, but I don't know too much information about it just now because it's only just been past the kind of community consultation phase. I know that there's a public consultation coming up for that soon. I was invited to it around about the middle of this month, but I don't have any sort of specific details about that, unfortunately.
I can certainly, Victoria, sort of away from table, if you want to get in touch with me, I'd popped my email in the chat bar, it's Ross Dunn. I can let you know to sort of where the plans are and for certainly information on any other play and recreation developments across the Wishaw area. So if you want to drop me a line away from the meeting, I can update you on all of that.
Yeah, because I was wondering as well, because when I've been talking to the Priory, the Greenhead Moss group as well, and I think I put it in the chat, what's the best way to try and work out about land? Because obviously, as I said, I've mainly been based working full time in Glasgow, but I'm looking into how I can personally, as a resident, kind of try and support outdoor play for young people, because I'm part-time furloughed just now, so I'd really like to try and offer something, but it's trying to work out who owns what land. So I've talked to Mike Brady and Aileen to know who actually owns what parts of land, but anybody that can help with that so that I can put in the right permissions to the right people, because I'd looked at what we'd call it, because I come from Cambridgeshire and the Monkey Hill, and nobody's been able to say if that's council land to me or not, and I've been trying to ask questions. It's things like that for me, so that I can kind of look into stuff. So,
Okay, again, if you get in touch with me out with the meeting, send me any locations you've got. I can certainly confirm straight away if they're in council ownership for you.
cool, that would be great. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks very much. But there were some issues with Graham's internet connection again, his audio, so some challenges with that. So I'll just pick up just now. Mark, you've got a hand up. Would you still get you're on mute?
It was just to ask Matt, I know when the road was raised at the Priory in relation to the challenges around the Ash Road there, is I feel like I'd seen on the plans for North Lanarkshire that there had been housing granted for a bit of land that lies adjacent to that. And I'm just wondering whether either whether the contractor is part of community benefits in a position to upgrade the roads, or whether actually that might even happen organically given the access needs and requirements there. Any thoughts on that?
It's all entirely a possibility, Mark. Definitely let us know. Again, let us know the specific location you're talking about. We can check that out to see if that is a plan and application in place in relation to that. And we do work closely with the community benefits team in relation to major planning developments in North Lanarkshire. So we're happy to pick that up and get some feedback for you.
Stuart, are you able to speak to that? Because I think that's obviously something I know that the group were looking at quite actively in terms of the development that was taking place within the locality. Just I'm talking about the section just opposite Gout Cratful.
Yeah, so as far as we understand it, the partial site investigation is underway and is approved and subject to submitting and meeting all of the conditions by June. But there is a list of about 25 conditions that need to be met.
Okay. Ross, maybe ask Ross to pick up off table with you on that one, and we can get more information and feed that back into a future board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, is there any other issues local community representatives want to pick up? Graham?
Matt, I was wanting to see if I could jump in for new mains.
Sorry, Jane, I saw you in the chat bar. Graham's okay, I'll bring Jane in first. Jane was on the chat bar there, and I'll come to yourself, Graham, okay? Sorry, Jane, on you go.
Sorry, that's all right. I didn't realise I was jumping ahead.
No, you weren't.
Just to give a kind of a quick update for what's been happening at the NCT Centre. Also got a dog barking in the background, so excuse that. So pre-lockdown, we were already working with CLD for digital inclusion. So we're really keen to get involved with that. So I would love to join that sub committee whenever it's up and running. Recently, we've joined partnership with New Mains United to get some more sort of fitness, kind of community related fitness and a bit more community engagement for ages, preschool right up to fit fans for older people and things. So that's quite an exciting thing that we've got coming up as well. Running soon, walking groups and things. We'll be hoping to get the walking group back up and running as soon as we're able. And Victoria, I would love to be able to speak to you of that at some point, just about the things that can help us with. We've got a youth group that's completely and utterly died a death just now, so it would be good, it'd be amazing to be able to get some, if you were able to steal some of your hours to speak to us about that. And that's me, that's all it was.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Jane. It's an interesting update from the NCT. Graham, did you want to come in on something? Sorry, Graham, I can't hear you. You're muted at the moment. You're off mute, you still can't hear you, Graham. Must be some issue with your audio on your device. I'll move on just now, just in case. Is there anybody else want to come in? Okay, no more on. Okay, moving on to other community planning partners input. We've got representatives here from Police Scotland and Scottish Fire and Rescue. Do you want to start with yourself, Stevie?
Yep, thanks very much, Matt. Just a couple of things for me. The first thing I want to speak about, something I discuss on a regular basis and spoke about at the last meeting as well, is the continued reports we receive in relation to the antisocial and illegal use of quad and trail bikes. It continues to be an issue for us. We've a couple of problems in as well. It's just to give everyone a kind of an update and let you know that we continue to target this problem in these areas with days of action. We're aware of the negative impact it has in the local community, and my officers are committed to trying to improve that. In the last 2 weeks, they've seized 3 quad bikes from persons who have been obviously using them illegally, and a number of persons have been charged and reported in relation to that, and that's something we'll continue to work on. I also continue to attend meetings on a regular basis, and that sort of meeting, that forum is looking at the problem nationally, taking sort of examples for, good examples for different areas and different groups, and looking at how, again, we can impact on the issue nationally. And obviously, when I attend those meetings, the Wishaw area is obviously at the forefront of my mind. My sergeant released some information via the media last week, just sort of appealing to anybody who's got any information about people who might be using quad and trail bikes, please let us know, and obviously just advising the negative impact it does have in the local community. So if anybody wishes to discuss that with me any further, please get in touch. Just something else I'll pick up on briefly. There's obviously been a bit of chat tonight about lighting and providing safe areas for young people, which I totally understand. I'll just touch on something Ross said about antisocial behaviour, and I think that's something that obviously has to be considered. And for a kind of police point of view, when it gets to that point, that can often be alcohol fuelled. And again, just a wee update to them, officers have been working on some information that they received that a local shop in the Wishaw area was selling alcohol to underage youths. So that local, in relation to that information they've received, they've done a lot of work on that, a lot of good work, and a local shopkeeper's been reported for selling alcohol to underage youths. And again, I would just kind of make that appeal to anybody that has any information or wants to discuss anything in that regard. Please get in touch with us. You can do so. You can remain anonymous, and you'll be any information will be confidential. So please get in touch with us. A couple of emerging issues in relation to antisocial behaviour and reports of youth disorder at Wishaw Sports Centre in Tesco in particular. And again, we continue to review any reports of antisocial behaviour on a regular basis and add that to our patrol plans and target it. Matt, that's all I really wanted to speak about, and I'm happy to take any questions anyone might have.
Thanks, Stevie. Any questions? I see your hand up, Mark.
Yeah, it was just to ask Stephen. I speak regularly with Bob Reid, who's a former Ranger in North Lanarkshire, and previously Bob had organised, I think, at Past Shots, a group that was quite well attended and was getting into the stage of making sure that kids were involved in wearing helmets. They had a trailer that ensured that there was safe transport to the site to engage in this activity. And I'm looking at what's happening with trail bikes and saying, are we policing something as a social issue? And is there an opportunity, do you feel, to look at this being a cultural pursuit within North Lanarkshire, and one at the minute that's not currently being supported by any local agenda? It's been identified that it's a problem all across the local authority, but we seem to be dealing with it as a negative, and I'm wondering, do you believe that there's any value in recognising this as a support and actually supporting people to access it in a safe manner?
Aye, Mark, you make a few good points there. The whole kind of purpose of that, of the meetings that I attend, look, it's not a problem in North Lanarkshire, it's a problem nationally. Obviously, the problem in Wishaw is what I'm more interested in because it's my area of responsibility. One of the groups, one of the gentlemen who attended that meeting, one of those meetings recently, discussed that very thing. It's in West Lothian. He works with a group in West Lothian, and that's absolutely what they have done. They've provided bikes, they've identified locations, and they're a recognised group. So I totally, absolutely, there is scope to look at that. But the problem varies depending on what area you're in. So if you take Shorts, as you mentioned there, a lot of people travel from out with the Shorts area because they see it as a safe place to go and practice. And the majority of those people have the requisite equipment and are travelling with trailers and doing that safely. But if you bring it locally to Wishaw and look at the issue in Cambusnethan, it's more local people who are using quad and trail bikes in an antisocial manner, as opposed to trying to do it the right way, if you like. So it's absolutely about reaching out to them to see how we can help and assist them in doing it in a safe manner, as recognised groups do.
Who would you see as being the other stakeholders to engage in further developing that discussion, and I suppose widen it out to the community learning development team? Like, has there been any looks across the local authority to say, look, is there a site that's suitable for allowing people to access this in a North Lanarkshire context?
Mark, I'm going to stick my email address in the chat bar. I know somebody's asked me to do that, and I'm happy to discuss it further because it's something we could speak about for quite a significant period of time. There's a lot of issues with identifying areas. At times, we have landowners, farmers who are happy for the land to be used, but then there's insurance implications. The impact it has on nearby residents, because you're talking, depending on the surroundings, it can be up to a mile. It can cause an antisocial a problem in an antisocial manner in terms of noise and stuff. But there is scope to look at it. As I say, it varies from area to area, but it's absolutely something I'm happy to discuss further with you.
Is there anybody else here tonight that would have something that feel that would want to contribute to that discussion?
I want to go into in-depth conversations again. You can do it away from the table, everyone. But if we are talking about Motherwell, Wishaw, Shorts area, feel free to include me with any meetings coming up.
Cheers, Ralph.
Okay. Thanks for that. Dan, did you want to come in? Can I ask you just to give any more comments, quite brief just now, just watching, wary of the time. We've still want to bring in fire and rescue.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just wanted to, obviously I knew one of the, well, it's not obvious, I knew one of the lads that died last week on the dirt bike. To me, it feels like another tragedy of the area. Yeah, all sorts of impact to it. And I think what Stephen was saying about the people who travel at Shorts, that wasn't what the lads were. They never wore any gear. I know guys who are really into motocross bikes and really into quad bikes, and they would never think of riding their bike, anywhere in a local area. I'm really concerned just now down at the pump track, because there's loads of guys who are on quad bikes down there, and I've seen too many near misses, and especially after last week. I really don't know what's the answer there. Do we report everything we see? What is that something we should be doing? I realise I'm saying this in a public forum, and I might get shot down for that now. But I'm wondering if that's something we need to be doing. Do we need to be more vigilant when we see near misses and we see people taking it to extremes? Do we need to be we wouldn't. If we saw somebody doing hard drugs, next to a play park, we wouldn't. We'd be on the phone straight away. Should we be treating it the same sort of way? That is sort of a question. And again, if it's a question for a discussion for another time, that's fair enough.
Okay, thanks for that. Comments will all be noted, Dan. We can pick that up for the discussions that take place. If that's okay with yourself.
Matt, there's a couple of points on the chat bar from Graham Smith, because he's not getting any access to speak just now.
People read them. Could you read them out, Christine? I can't.
Yeah, sure. There's one, it says, he just wanted to point out Castle Hill Road, which is access road to the Priory for Gaukthrappel. To the best of their 7-year knowledge, the road is private, otherwise you would have to ask why it has not been maintained. Let me see the other one, that there's local areas already been identified for trail bikes, etc. that farmers are happy for people to use. So it was just on that point.
I think it's obviously that this is a big issue for this board. I think there might be something that we could look at on a group basis to consider some of these issues that have been raised, to look at the land and the other issues that have been raised here tonight. I think that's maybe something we could hopefully take forward.
Matt, could I ask Dan just one quick question around that?
Sure.
Dan, see how you were referencing knowing the young guys that tragically died last week. Do you consider for knowing those individuals a bit better that there is although there's been a disregard for the rules and the appropriate kind of behaviour, that there's also an access issue for them in terms of, whether it be proper equipment or getting to and from land safety, that they're able to do that in a way that's, basically what I'm saying is could these young guys afford a bike, but could they perhaps afford a helmet or a trailer or the petrol to get there, or had parents that were able to take them to that, to and from that space? Would you say that's the case, or is it just a flagrant disregard for the rules almost, would you say?
It's not an easy answer, to be honest. But those lads were riding a Kawasaki that probably cost $2,500. Interestingly enough, somebody mentioned to me the guy who delivers push bikes to us said that he delivers dirt bikes all over Wishaw, and he says, but I never deliver helmets. And you're talking a $2,500 bike,
Okay.
You can afford it.
I think it's a pretty specialist area. I think it might be something that might be worthwhile having further discussions in relation to this off table, if you don't mind. Maybe just try and move it on to something else at the moment, if that's okay with you just now.
Yeah, that's all good. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks very much. Ricky, over to yourself for any update from Scottish Fire and Rescue.
Hi, thanks, Matt. Just a couple of things. As you may know, I'm sitting in tonight for Station Commander Des Donnelly, who passes on his apologies that he couldn't make it tonight. I've just got a few things to raise. Similar to Stephen, it's kind of around antisocial behaviour, which links to deliberate fire setting, which obviously includes us. Some ongoing initiatives we've got running across North Lanarkshire is basically our community action teams go out and to identified areas and carry out some sort of engagement activity, whether it be literature being distributed, warning the effects of like careless disposal of refuse and stuff like that. So we're out there trying to raise awareness about the issues that come off the back of that. Particularly bin fires. There's been quite a spate of bin fires in and around North Lanarkshire, and Wishaw has had its fair share of them. We're actually running an initiative tomorrow in the Wishaw Hill and Craignook areas, just around bin fires, theft, and encouraging the locals to report it, because we found a bit of an issue with reporting. So we've got a wee initiative on tomorrow, and we're hopeful that some people will take it on board. You can offer chains and padlocks to be distributed to residents if they feel it's such an issue that they require that, and we can obviously give guidance around the safe use of them. We do a lot of our target engagement work through local schools to raise awareness, because there's a large number of young people involved with the deliberate fire setting that we attend. So because of the lockdown restrictions, we've been unable to go around that in our usual manner. However, we have developed our virtual programme, virtual fire skills programme, which we can do online and deliver our fire safety message to young people that are still attending school during these lockdown restrictions, key workers, children, etc. So we're hopeful that we'll see some sort of reduction in our deliberate fire setting, certainly in the area. Accidental dwelling fires still remains a bit of an issue, and Motherwell South East to Ravenscraig and into Wishaw, that kind of area is quite high. It records quite highly in the previous quarter. Again, our action team are still carrying out our home fire safety visits to vulnerable members of the community, those deemed to be most at risk. Although we have recorded a spike in accidental dwelling fires, we have recorded a reduction in casualty fatalities off the back of these accidental dwelling fires. So although the fires are happening, people tend to not be getting injured or suffering life-threatening consequences. So we could attribute that to our ongoing engagement work through home fire safety visits and post-domestic incident responses. We've also launched our Spring Thematic Action Plan. Our Spring Thematic Action Plan is really about our reduction strategy for the kind of period between February the 22nd and I think it's the 19th of April. During the quarter four in particular, we get quite a lot of wildfires, as you know. North Lanarkshire is regularly covered in smoke and smog at the kind of April time, and we have this thematic action plan in place, which all crews in North Lanarkshire, our community action team, will engage with local landowners, but local businesses, to kind of engage with them and find out what they can do, raise awareness about what they can do to try and prevent this from happening. So we're hopeful that that this year we'll record the reduction in that as well. So that's all from me. I'm cautious of the time. I know that the meeting's scheduled to finish soon, so I'm happy to take questions if anyone has any.
Okay, thanks for that, Ricky. Any questions? I see Dan, you've got a hand up.
Sorry, I forgot to bring it down.
Okay, Indy, any questions for Ricky? Any other? Graham? Have you put something in the chat bar?
There's a point from Graham. Last night, blue bin and fire at the tops of blue stairs at the Moss and youth drinking.
Oh, right, yeah, I see that now. Yeah, last night, blue bin on fire at the top of stairs, blue stairs at the Moss. I don't know if that was reported to the police. I certainly wasn't made aware of anything there. I could check to see if our crews were in attendance, but not right this very moment. I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, but as I said, the blue stairs at the Moss. Yeah, does that tie in with the areas that we are targeting? Because it's certainly one I could add to the list if it's not. It's Wishaw Hill and Craig Newt we're targeting tomorrow. It may be we can target the area around there as well. I'm not from the area, so I'm unfamiliar exactly where that is. If someone could maybe tell me if that's in the vicinity of the area that we're covering tomorrow, then great. If it's not, we could perhaps include it.
Okay, thanks for that. I see a couple of chats on the chat bar there about that wheelie bin thefts, etc. in that particular area. Ricky, that may be something we pick up on as part of a potential hotspot area for future reports and other.
region. Yeah, I'll take a note of that, Matt, and thanks to the group for pointing that out. Right now, we're targeting the worst affected areas, I should say, and perhaps these, I'm not sure if these are ongoing issues within that region. However, it's certainly something I'll look into, and if it does, you know, if it is deemed to be an ongoing issue, then I certainly will target that in the short term. If not, it will be done as part of a longer term strategy.
Okay, thanks, Ricky. Sorry, Victoria, you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Richard, and I know when Stephen was on earlier, that if there is like telephone numbers that citizens should be phoning, because I know myself and Dan saying there has been times I've been out walking my dog and there's been people riding by me, or the same with the fires, and you see it in the group chat all the time that if there's numbers that we can be sharing, because I'm part like on the Facebook of these community groups, then to at least let other residents know just to phone and let people be informed, because I think people are willing to like kind of take action and inform people. I know there's a lot of chat on the groups about it, so if there is numbers from either of you that I could share, or if there's a digital online thing people can do, whatever it is, I'm happy to kind of share it if it helps in any way.
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at, Victoria. There has been talk of these types of kind of, not 999, but an alternative number that can be contacted quickly and effectively. And I know they're looking at things like apps and things to try and that people can download, and they can raise their concerns through that way. But I don't think it's up and running at the moment. If it's a fire, obviously the advice would be contact 999 and just have it extinguished. If it's advice you're after, then I would just probably point you in the direction of the local fire station, which for the Wishaw area would be Motherwell. So if you've got any concerns around that, if it's perhaps just hanging around, setting fires, stealing bins, etc., then maybe if you didn't deem it was 999 worthy, then perhaps absolutely contact the local fire station and raise your concerns that way. I would say that was probably the best idea at the moment.
Richard, see for the app, in terms of reporting those things, is that something that's, do you know who's leading on the development of that?
I don't, Mark. No, sorry, it's actually happening in another area. It's happening in Glasgow at the moment, and it's one of the firefighters themselves is actually trying to come up with this app. So the hope is that they'll pilot it, and then if it works, then they'll roll it out. I think we're still a good few months away from it actually becoming a reality, unfortunately.
Could you help us plug into
that? I can find out more about it and certainly get back to you on it, Mark. If I'll take a note of your email address, and I could link into that, definitely.
Generous caller, good man, thank you.
Mark, can I just come in quickly there, please, just in response to Victoria's question. As Ricky said, Victoria, urgent 999, non-urgent 101 is the number for police, obviously. I've posted my email address on the chat. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll also provide you with the email address for our community policing team. More than happy for you to contact us at any time when it's non-urgent or you want to remain anonymous. That's absolutely fine, and I'm also quite happy for you to share those email addresses.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks for that.
Hear me now? Hello?
Can hear you now, Graham, yeah.
Oh, great, just at the end of the meeting. No, I just put a comment in about the trees as well. We get a lot of it down the woods. They keep setting fire in the root of the trees, and they're actually, mate, we've got a huge one down the priory, and it's in real danger of falling. I mean, somehow it's lasted the last winter, but they seem to keep doing this. They don't set fires in the middle everywhere. They set them in the base of trees all the time, and obviously there's a danger then to the public if they come down. That was the other thing I was putting in. Sorry about that.
But thanks for that, Graham. Do you know, has that been checked out? Has it been reported to the council that actually our Arbor team could have a look at that, and we can pass that on to our team? So we'll take a note of that as well, and we'll make sure that's passed on to the Arbor team to have a look at that. Okay, is there any other final business before we end the meeting? No other business. The next meeting then, thanks very much for all your input here tonight. The next meeting of the Wishaw Community Board will be Monday the 31st of May 6:30. Still anticipated that at that stage we will be on a online basis. Any change to that, we'll make sure everybody knows about that. But certainly that's the procedure we have in place just now. But again, thanks very much to everybody for your input tonight, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right, thank you. Good night.
Right.